Hey, it's 7 p.m. Eastern Time, then it must be time for Life Waves, where therapy meets faith, empowering you to the place where your yes, always knew you were destined for. In here, we make therapy practical. Join us on Facebook at Sandra Garcon or Sandra Garcon Digerville, YouTube at Sandra Garcon Digerville, and now on Clubhouse. So come in, like, subscribe, ping, share. We have much to talk about.
Oh, I forgot to add me to the stream. Let me remove this out of here. So that's what we do. We come together and we talk about life. We talk about different issues, and I try to connect. Oh, hi, Kino. Welcome, welcome. So we connect faith and psychotherapy together. So that's what we've been doing for almost a year. I come on the different social networks and we talk about different issues. And so we started this family series that we have been doing for the last couple weeks. And so last week we talked about some healthy building blocks to family, to developing family relationships. And so we know that God wants us to grow and prosper and be in health. And, he says, above all, because God is not simply about us being rich financially, but our soul to prosper. And our soul is comprised of our will, our mind, our emotions, our intellect, and our imagination. And so when these parts of us are not healed because of trauma, because of pain, because of brokenness, it could just be the loss of a loved one. It could be because family members, relationship, marriages that did not end well, or, different issues that happen in life. Those things impact our souls. It hinders how we function and operate in the family. And so that is so important for us to know the building blocks of healthy family. A lot of us did not grow up in very healthy families where there was two-parent household and your mother and your father were present. There are people that have had their parents involved, but they grew up with their parents, yet their parents were not present. They were not emotionally present, or they were not spiritually present. So many of our parents, from my generation, I hit 41 this year, and my generation, you have a lot of the parents focus had been, I need to put a roof over your head. And if I put a roof over your head, that's about it. And so it is important for us to know now as parents what we're doing and how we are helping our children grow and heal, and how can we really honor God and serve God, and our families and households are not in order. And so we would be missing. We can go and sit in church all day long and hear incredible words. And part of why God gave me this ministry, the Sandra Garcon Digerville ministry, and we have this Life Waves, it's really because I found in working with a lot of Christians, because I offered Christian counseling, A lot of the saints, they are faithful, they love God, they really want to serve God, and they're doing the best that they can. And they are coming into church, and after a while, their trauma, their pain, their past begin to catch up to them, and they are hearing these incredible promises of God, and yet they're not able to connect. They're not able to connect, to what God is saying, because it sounds really good. It sounds like, oh, the pastor, wow, that's a really great message. Oh, God wants me to prosper. God wants me to grow. God says that I'm the head and I'm not the tail. And all these incredible promises that the Bible has, they're wonderful. But oftentimes, when we haven't healed with the broken areas of our lives, those promises, they seem too far away from us. They seem like, oh yeah, that's for sister so and so, that's for brother so and so, not for me. And so we learn a lot of those things from our family of origin. And so as we're setting up family or hoping to set up family, we have to learn what are the healthy building blocks that we can build our family on. And so last week, when we started this part of the series on dealing with family, we're going to first, we had established that family with in respects to God is dealing with the husband and the wife. And while I know our society has different ideals and there's a different orientation that is happening, everyone has the right to make the choices that they choose for themselves. But the Bible is clear on what it says family is supposed to look, or the model of family. And when we decide to do our own thing, we take ourselves out of the blessings of God by doing our own thing. And so, a lot of times, even from the LGBT community, they've received a lot of hate, and they shouldn't they shouldn't be receiving any hate, because Christ told us to love. And so you can only draw people through love. I don't know about you, but when I came to Christ, it wasn't because my life was fabulous. It was because my life was falling apart. I didn't know what I was doing. And the day before I gave my life to Christ, I had planned on taking my life. I had planned on taking my life. And so God snatched me out of that, just snatched me out of the enemy's hand, out of me taking my life, because I thought, you know what, I've gone through too much trauma, too much craziness in my life. There's no way God has a purpose. There's no way God has a plan for my life. And, and the devil had convinced me, why are you even alive? What you doing here? You're wasting time. Who do you think really love you? Who do you think is going to even miss you? And I had looked at all of my trauma and being sexually abused when I was younger, and all the emotional abuse and trauma that I went, and physical trauma that I went through in my life. All of those stood up as evidence to say God did not love me, that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't enough. And that was a bold-faced lie. And I thank God every day that he rescued me from the jaws of the enemy. There's a scripture in Psalms 18 that says, and the Lord swooped up and he just took me and drew me out of many waters. Those places, that place where I was in my life, I was drowning in every shape, form, or fashion. But God swooped down and he drew me out of many waters, and he blessed my life and he healed me. And I'm continue to be a work in progress, because none of us has arrived anywhere. And so it is essential for us, and to begin to function and operate. We can get so spiritually, but in the church, we can become some spiritual fat cats, and we don't know how to apply proper principles in our lives. We're praying, but we're not able to apply wisdom. And there is so much wisdom in the word that is tangible for our day to day, that is practical. And so we know scriptures, but sometimes we don't know practicality of them. And so that's why we have Lifeways. That's why we're doing this family series. And we're going to get into parenting. We're going to get into romantic relationships. We're going to get into marriages. We're going to get into divorce. We're going to get into all kinds of things pertaining to family, because people, welcome Gladys, and welcome to those of you guys who are coming on Facebook, those of you guys who are on YouTube, welcome. And so we're doing our family series, and we're getting ready to go into the building blocks. Last week, we talked about communication, and communication is one of the biggest building blocks. And there's another part to communication that we have to do, which is the different communication styles, where there's passive aggressive, there's manipulative, communication styles. So there's multiple communication styles that sometimes we don't know that we're doing, and they are impacting our relation, negatively impacting our relationship. And sometimes we want God to send certain blessings, or even in our lives. Like when I used to pray for a husband, I'm married now, but I used to pray for a husband. I was like, God, when is this husband showing up? When is he gonna come? Well, I was like, this man is taking too long. Like, what's wrong with him like this? And God is like, there was nothing wrong with him. There are issues in you. And so I could be very passive aggressive at times, and I have to be mindful of that. And so when I am going through difficulties, or someone has done something to me, I tend to kind of shut down, and I'll yes you everything. Inside, I don't really mean it. And so we'll get to some of that communication piece, because that's important for us to identify what communication styles that we are using and how that is impacting our relationships, because God can't bless this order. God can't bless this order. If we want God to bless us, we have to put our things in order. We have to heal from some of these things. And so we're going to get into that part, not today. We wanted to get some of the building blocks down, and also togetherness. How important it is for us to create that family provides us a sense of togetherness, and our ability to spend time together, even in sharing activities, dinners and lunch. And, it's so important that, if you're moms and dads, that you're sitting down, having a meal with your child is not going to remember the Nikes, the Jordans, the PlayStations, or any of these things. And I know, because over the years, I've sat with over thousands of people, men, women, and children, and they're complaining, and they're hurt, and they're broken, and didn't care about all the toys and all the fancy things that their parents purchased for them to keep them appeased, to keep them to the TV that babysat them. What mattered, some of them, were the moments that they sat down to have dinner together. What matters were the family vacations. What mattered were the things that they were playing together and having games as a family. Those things hold weight in their lives. And so we have to understand what true value is, and we talked about affection. We left off with affection last week, and affection is dealing with showing, care. How are you showing care? How are you showing love? Hugs and kisses and being thoughtful. Those things are so essential, because they are a way that we express the love of Christ. They are a way that we show love to one another. And I don't know if you guys are familiar, and maybe let me invite, if you, Judith and Gladys, who are on Clubhouse, if you want to get on to the platform and we can kind of have a little conversation too, you are more than welcome to do so. You could raise your hand and let me know if you want to get on the platform, so we can kind of have a little dialogue, if you're interested, about these things and your experiences around that. So I'm glad for, let's see, this is close. Oh, shucks. Now, how do I do that? Oh, invite to speak. There you go. All right. Welcome, Judith. Thank you for coming on.
Many blessings. Thanks for the invite. It's always a pleasure to hear you.
Absolutely. So we're talking about, we just kind of went through some family building blocks and communication, togetherness, and being able to share activities and affection. What has been your experience around these building blocks in your family?
Well, from what you just spoken, from what I've heard, it is so true. I truly remember the times that I spent with my mother, and she's the one down there at Pinnerine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Welcome, Mom. Welcome, Gladys.
I do enjoy, and I remember, even I'm almost my 50s. Oh, Lord gracious. I remember the time that she will schedule vacation for us. I looked forward for these things because she was a very hardworking woman. My mom worked 2 jobs when we were growing up. But that time that she would spend, that month that she would take to take us away on vacation and ask us, or, take us places, or either to a play or to the movies, these things really matter versus the gifts that we got on Christmas. So you're really on point when it comes to spending and sharing time with our loved ones. That's the thing that mattered to them.
Absolutely. Because children
Christmas. So
I was trying to pull up Facebook so that I can also see Facebook simultaneously too. Welcome. Okay, welcome those of you, Luchima. Welcome, Janice. Welcome those of you guys that are on Facebook, that are on Clubhouse, that are also on YouTube. We're continuing our conversation, and we just had Judith from Clubhouse sharing the importance of the time that her mother, who's also here, took to plan vacations. And you know what, too? Sometimes I know finances are challenging, but there's so many there's stay vacations. There are things, sometimes the hotels are cheaper. That you can take the kids out into a hotel. I've even worked with kids where they've never even left the town where they're from, where they were born in. I'm here in Brockton, Massachusetts, and I have worked with some kids who never even left Brockton. And so we hinder them from really growing and developing when we're not able to give them that expansion, let them see the world. Even taking the train down to Boston, something that simple, you have no idea the effect that can have on your children. And so as parents, it is so our responsibility to create these opportunities, these windows where our children can look at life in different perspectives, And so another building block is dealing with support. So offering and asking for support with family members, knowing they will receive help, encouragement, and reassurance from one another. Support is huge because that's one of the issues that a lot of the clients that I deal with have worked with in the past. They do not feel supported by their loved ones. They don't feel supported by their siblings, and there's so much sibling rivalry. Several months ago, we looked at sibling rivalry through the life of Rebecca and Leah, which was, hi, Eddie, welcome. So through the life of Leah, and we looked at sibling rivalries and how we even take that into our friendship, especially as women. We can be so, we could hurt one another so easily because we understand how emotions work better than a man sometimes. And so sometimes the person that hurts us the most is our sister, not just our blood sister, our sister friends, and so we have to be mindful that we're creating a sense of support. And one of the things that we can be mindful of, and when we're talking about support, is not taking on more than you can handle. Even in families, we are not super women. We're not Superman and we're not super women. We cannot promise everyone everything and think we're going to be able to make it. About almost 7 years ago, I was at a place in my life where I was just so worn out. I had started a nonprofit organization and it was going excellent. And so, happy Monday, Sandra. Well, thank you. Good. And so we were in this place where I was where I was so overwhelmed and so burnt out because I had started a nonprofit organization. I was working full-time as a therapist and just doing everything. And so I just kind of crashed. And so God was like, you need to get out of here. And so I had an opportunity to go to Europe for the summer. So I spent about 2 months up there. And 2.5 months up there. And it was such an incredible experience. And while I was over there, God took me out of where I was, because even if he said, you stay home for the weekend, I would have found 10 million things to do. So I had to be away from my environment. And when I got to where I was to Europe and just begin to see how people are enjoying their weekends, they don't play with weekends up there. They don't play with their weekends. They don't play with their vacation. They are serious about spending time together. You know, you'll see them with their little basket and their glass and their wine and their bread and their cheese and their fruit, and they sitting out everywhere and just laughing and connecting. And the Lord gave me a model then. And he says, for you, this is because my life was out of order. I was so involved in church, so involved in my nonprofit organization. So I was just doing everything. There were good things, but they were not the best things. God didn't give me all of them. I took them on. And so I was doing, so God says, the model that I want you to follow is God first, family second, God first, Sandra second, because Sandra was never in the equation. Your husband, if you're married, and your children. So, and then other family members, your job, church, and whatever else you're doing. Because God was not first, even though I was doing a lot of godly things. I was nowhere near. And so near the equation, I wasn't taking care of myself. And I was a therapist. And I was getting on my clients for not self-care, for not properly self-care. And I was like, no, you have to self-care. I love you too, Nelson. Eddie, I appreciate, Eddie's such a great fan and such a great friend. And I thank you for coming here, and you support, and you're sending comments, and you're sharing, and you're doing all that. I really sincerely appreciate, your seed and your time and energy. And so I wanted to publicly tell you, thank you for that. And so I just was overwhelmed because I was doing more than I should have been doing. And because I was doing so much, I did not take space to receive from anyone. I didn't receive from anyone. And so even if there were family and friends that wanted to support me, I just was not there to receive it. Because I was, going to be superwoman and do it all and don't need anything. Judith, what has been, I know you've been in ministry, you are in ministry and do quite a different things. How, in terms of support, how do you find yourself? Do you find yourself being able to receive support from friends? Or do you feel like some of the time you're like, oh no, I got it. I don't need anything. You're going to be superwoman.
Oh my God, it is so funny that you say that. I guess I don't even know if I should blame it on my culture. We get to a point where we feel like we can do it best. We micromanage everything.
Right.
Don't try to find someone to give a task, but we are looking to make sure, are they going to do it well, versus trusting that if we give it to them, they can do it. And if we are at times not well, you give a task to someone and they didn't do it well, then you shut the door for everybody else.
Right.
So you try to become superwoman. I mean, I pastor the teens at the Nazarene, and all the activities I started with the group, with a team of people, and slowly it became like a skeleton crew. And like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to depend on anybody. I'm going to just do this, do that. So I go to work. I prepare activities for them. I prepare Bible study. I do my lives when I used to do it. The Lord has not released me to start that again for a minute. I do my lives, and then I'm trying to run my household, run my kids. And in the middle, I crash. But then when they say, okay, do you need help? I'm like, no, I'm good. I can do it. But yet it's a lie, because we are dying on the inside. I try to, just like you said, I'm taking care of everybody else, making sure that everybody's happy. But I have things that I want to do. I push them to the corner. I say, oh, we'll have time. And that is really not healthy for us, because it comes at points when somebody would ask you for something and you snap and you're like, whoa, what just happened?
Right.
It's because you're tired.
Absolutely.
Because you need to be refreshed, because the Lord say, rest upon me. But yet we are not resting in him. We are doing, we kind of like Marie and Martha.
Yep.
And Marie, she's doing all the good stuff, but Martha is just sitting at the feet of Jesus. We can do all these things, but we have to know, if he says, just like he told Moses, give some people work to do. Don't carry the burden of all of them. Mm-hmm. Call some elders, anoint them, and have them do the work. And the things that are too hard for them, let these subjects come to you and you will deal with it. And he was fine with that, because beside that, he would have been burned out. So you are truly right. We do need to take time for ourselves, which is not something that we like to do, unfortunately.
Right. You know, because as parents, being able to model, because we want to teach that to our kids, because our parents did not often model these things for us, because they were workaholics. And there was this spirit, there's a spirit of, you have to do it all. And if you're not doing 1,000 things, then you're not being productive, then you're not using your gift properly. And so when we don't learn how to take space, we don't teach our children that. And so we create this pattern of them working themselves to death. And so we have to change that within our own self. Begin to set the proper, model. And oftentimes too, when we're operating in a place where we don't need anybody's help, we got it, we're going to do everything. What you're really operating of is out of a spirit of pride, because pride says, I don't need you. I got it. And, I can do this better than you are. And so pride does not build others. And God has called us to live a life that is building other people. And so when pride tells you, don't connect, do everything yourself, because they'll never do it the way you do. No, they may not do it the way you do. Your way is not the only way. And that's something that the Lord had to check me many years. And still sometimes too, that, I'm like, God, they're not doing this correctly, no. And God is like, no, they're not doing it Sandra's way. That's all. Not that there's something wrong with their way. It's just that it's not Sandra's way. And so when did Sandra become God? When did Sandra become the standard of how everything should be done? And so we have to be careful that we don't let that pride. So is that pride in two forms. You have that pride, well, I can do it by myself and I don't need you. And where we dismiss people and we harm people that way. Because sometimes God sent people to help us develop them. And when we have that kind of spirit, we stop them from coming to get the help, and therefore they can't be developed. And the other form of pride is this vulnerable. Asking for help causes us to be vulnerable. We're at someone's mercy. And when we have been hurt and we've had trauma histories, we don't want to be at nobody's mercy. Even King David, there was a story in the Bible with King David. God had told him not to take a census, and he decided, I'm going to do what I want to do. And he took the census, and God was like, there's going to be some consequences around that. And so God had given him a couple different options of punishment or discipline. And the one David took, a couple of them dealt with, he has to go on a run again from his enemies, or be attacked, or this, or whatever the case was. And one of them was just, it cost the people whom he was the king over, it cost a lot of them their lives. And David's like, listen, I am not going to be in the hands of people. I'd rather God punish me if that's what it has to be, but I'm not going to be in the hands of people. So it's understandable when we've been hurt. And so sometimes we hurt, not always intentional. We hurt because we don't know how to properly love. We don't know how to properly communicate. We don't know how to properly express ourselves. And so we tend to hurt instead, and so in this building block of support, we have to understand and take inventory of our own selves. How do I show support to my loved ones? How does my children, How supported do they feel by me? And so sometimes with parents, and I have to say that parents assume that they are doing everything correctly. Of course, my children know I support them. Your children may know you love them, but in terms of support, they may not feel it. And so we assume because we're the parent and we love our kids, of course we support our children. And do they feel that way? Because if they are not able to feel your support, it doesn't exist for them. It's like love language, and we'll get in the communication. When we do more of the communication, we will do the love language again. Because like I speak Haitian Creole. If I were to start to speak Haitian Creole, here, Judith, you speak Creole, right, Judith?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Judith speaks Creole. Eddie speaks Creole here, and there's a couple people here that speaks Creole. They may understand what I'm saying, but others will not. And so, if we're not communicating love to people in the language they understand, if we're not communicating support to our friends in the language they understand, then it doesn't exist. And so we have to take inventory on how well are they receiving the support that I'm giving? Because oftentimes we're killing ourselves to show support, but it's in a language they cannot understand. And so when we do that and speak the right language and function in the right way, then it's easier for them to receive our love, to receive our support, and to give it back. Now, there are people in our lives we know we give to, and they just take. And so we got to figure out, okay, wait a minute, is this, and take inventory of the people that are in your life. Are they just taking? And if they're just taking, what ways are you establishing? What are you doing to protect yourself? I had heard one of the therapists on Facebook, she was talking and she was saying that, people say, well, people take advantage of me because I have a big heart. And there's so many people, and I've heard this thousands of times over the years from people. Well, it's because I'm such a good person or I have such a big heart that people take advantage of me. No, it's because you don't have any wisdom. No, it's because you don't have any boundaries. And so we like to blame it. Well, it's because I have a big heart. Well, God didn't give us a heart and not give us wisdom. Our heart has the capacity to cause us to fall down the hole and just get connected to people, get connected to situations that is just going to utterly destroy us. And so God created the mind so that wisdom can show up, to create some balance. Boundaries are important, that we set up proper, healthy boundaries for our lives. And we must be the model. You got a thought on that? Go ahead, Judith.
No. I said that again.
Mm-hmm. It's too bad that Facebook can't get on the conversation. But we are on Clubhouse, and on Clubhouse, people can talk. Definitely get on and talk. I've heard people come on Facebook too and talk. If you have a comment, Eddie, you know how to do that. You click on, I guess, something. I don't know.
Share your screen with you. You have to give them the invite to share your screen with you.
For Facebook?
Yes.
Oh, people can't just. I'm not streaming directly from Facebook though. I'm streaming from what you call it, Yard Stream, so I could stream to multiple.
Oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. But anyways, definitely, we have to be mindful that we're using wisdom and we're setting the right boundaries to protect ourselves. It is our responsibility to protect ourselves. If people are continually using us, continually harming us, and we stay there, we have made that choice. You can no longer blame the person. You got to take responsibility, because our letting people use us and take advantages of us is also a shade or disrespect to God, because here God came down to earth to give his life for yours, and he is working tirelessly to get us to where he needs us to be. And you're going to let some person abuse you so that you can be emotionally in a broken place all the time, feeling lost, feeling used, feeling this, feeling that. You are undermining what God is doing in your life. And the people that are coming to undermine, you're just like signing off of it. Yep, come undermine the hard work that God is doing in my life. And that way you will never reach what God has for you. And you cannot blame people. And we do that all the time. And one of the couple weeks back, or month back, we were doing the cognitive distortions, the way our mind sees, the way we perceive things. And so we have to be very mindful. And blaming is one of those cognitive distortions, or the lenses that we put on, the distortions that we believe, that we're blaming other people and failing to take responsibility. And so we have to take responsibility of that. And as we're using these building blocks, and especially around support is a two-way street. I provide you support and you provide me back. Now I do understand that there are some people that God will send you into their lives, and you're just there only to bless their lives. Like as a therapist, my clients, therapist and life coach, as when I'm doing work with clients, they pay me. I'm not there to be their friends. They're not there to figure out what's going on in my life. Or, they might say, hey, how was your day? How was your weekend? Oh, good. I'm not going to go and say, oh, it's so-and-so happened. This and that happened to me. And just like turn the session into like they're my therapist. They don't come for that. What I give them, help them build them up, encourage them, support them, empower them. That is my responsibility. And they don't owe that back to me. So there are people that God may send you into their lives to minister, to encourage them, to build them up. God never sends you in people's lives so that they can become your project. Because when we start to look at them in terms of project, we become their God. And God is not going to have you be anybody else's God. We don't even know how to be a God for our own selves, much less another person. And so God will send you people to be a blessing, to walk along with them, to encourage them, to build them up, never that they become your project. And when we get into the relationship part, we're going to deal with this project boyfriends, project girlfriends, project married spouses, because especially for women, and women do that much more than men, that you meet this guy and he so-called have all this potential. And all of a sudden, this guy is his project. That is not the will of God. God don't call none of us to take on any individual as a project. They're not on our potter's wheel. We're not forming and making them. And so sometimes you will find people come into your life and they see things in your life and they're like, oh my goodness. And they cleave to you and they connect to you, and they want you they want to become a project. They want you to do you doing some volunteer work in their life. And no, we have to be mindful, especially in the faith. There is a difference between mentoring and taking on a project. There is a difference between assisting and taking on a project. We cannot take projects, turn people into projects. We're not their God. And so you got to be careful. What about you, Judith? In your years of ministry, have you dealt with people trying to become a project, or have you turned some people into projects over the years?
I try to not to do that. It's at times you find people claiming so much on you, and with everything they want to do, they just want to come to you. So I get to sense to say, you know what? I could help you. I could give you a word. We can pray together, but you also have to learn how to pray for yourself. Because otherwise, you're going to make me the horn to pull upon God's tail for yourself when you can do it as well. The same way He hears me, He also hears you. And there's nobody that can pray for you what you need better than you. Because they're only going to give me a glimpse of what you need, but I'm not really you to know where the root of what, because if we look at the instance of Anna was being burdened because she was bothering her because she was her womb was closed. So though the husband was praying and he wanted her to have a child, she had to open her mouth for herself and not become the burden of the husband, so she could pray for herself to receive Samuel. And she said, give me that son and then I will give him back to you. So when we try to enable people by making them come to us all the time, it is not a good thing. Right. And God is not pleased. Like you said, we're making them look at us as their God, and we're not. I mean, we have things that we need ourselves, that we need to turn our face to the wall and call upon God ourselves, for our own self. As a therapist, you have time that you would want to talk to another therapist like you to get an idea on certain things that you go through.
I sure do see my therapist.
You know, sometimes when they come and they talking, and I can hear, especially I deal with the teens, I can hear the hurt that they facing, because when they want to come talk to the parents and the parents are giving them a deaf eye. Like you said, what do you need? You got everything. You got the house, you got the food on the table. What else you need? There's more to that. And I got to understand that from where I came from, because I used to hear it too. And instead of going to my mom all the time, I stopped. I went to her friends. And that's another danger right there.
Right.
So we need to not make people come to us all the time and rely on us, give them tools on how to help themselves, and make sure that they follow these tools. And we can be there if they're not using it well to say, okay, no, you should do this one, this way is better, that way is not, but help them to, don't give them the fish all the time. Give them the hook so they can, basically. Thank you for the space.
No problem. And one thing, I would correct one sentence you made. We would teach them how, you said make them use those tools. So that's another danger. We have to be careful, because sometimes we're forcing people to function at a level they're either not prepared for or they don't desire to walk in. And so you're absolutely right about making sure that they get the tools that they need, that you provide them the tools as you see them using it. And so sometimes we get overly excited and want to overwhelm people with stuff. And they just don't have the capacity for all the stuff you've given them. They can just take like one sentence at a time. And so when we are helpers, and when we are people persons, and we desire to work and help people, we get so frustrated and so broken sometimes when all these incredible advice I've given you, all these tools I've given you, haven't done them. And we got to understand that people function and operate in different paces and different capacities. And so in this building block of support, I want you guys as homework just to begin to think about how the people that are in your life, closest in your life, that you are giving a lot of support and energy to, and take an inventory. Are you giving too much of yourself? Are you becoming the fisher? Or are you teaching them to fish? And if you have children, think about how you are helping. Even having that conversation with them, it's a great conversation to start. And says, you know what? I wanted to know, in what way do you feel supported by me? And be open to hear, because sometimes we ask the question thinking they're going to just tell us how, oh my goodness, you're the best mother in the world and you support me with everything. And that might not be their testimony with you, that might not be their testimony. And so we got to be prepared to say, okay, it's not that you're not providing support sometimes. Perhaps it is the manner in which you're providing it that they're not able to pick it up. and receive it. And also your own self. How are you showing your own self support? In what way are you showing up for you? Because that's a whole nother conversation. Um, how are you showing up for yourself? We oftentimes want people to show up for us. And in relationships and marriages, especially, we want the person, our spouse, to show up for us. You should have done this for me. You should have done that for me. And yet we have not even done those things for our own selves. How dare you insist for someone to give to you what you do not give to your own self? You don't give that to your own self. Why would you expect this person to do it? That's insane. And so we got to stop functioning in our insanity and begin to function properly and show love to ourselves, And so that's an important thing. And this goes in line with the second one, acceptance, which is dealing with understanding, respecting, and appreciating each member's unique quality. So we're these things can be done. These building blocks are excellent for us as individuals. They're excellent for our marriages. And we're talking this portion of it. We're talking about family. How are we showing acceptance? In our world today, acceptance, especially in our world today, is about accepting the homosexual orientation. There is this concept that if you love me, if you value me, then you're going to accept me as I am. Well, it's difficult. If my conviction and my core value is faith-based, where I believe what the Bible says, and the Bible is the guide for how I see and function, and the Bible tells me that is that lifestyle is not in line with His word, I am supposed to love you, but you cannot require that I accept that. And you cannot require that, you cannot give me that ultimatum. And that's what you were seeing a lot. It's as if it's impossible to love someone if you didn't accept everything that they have done, everything that they say they are. That is not love. That is not love at all. Love is being able to love you in spite of you. Love you in spite of. And tell you the truth in love. And so we have to be able to tell the truth to one another in love. I've worked years with homosexual clients in my counseling practice. I don't do, if the issue is around their homosexuality, that is not an expertise area of mine. If they're dealing with depression, anxiety, or any other mental health issue that is not related to their sexual orientation, then fine, I can work with you. But in being, in the field of social work, we are taught to advocate for clients. And that is important. We do need to advocate for people, for our clients. However, I cannot advocate for you past my own core values. You cannot ask me to push aside my core values to support yours. It just does, that don't make no sense. So I lose who I am for you? No, I don't know. We can't lose ourselves for people. We can't lose who God has called us to be. We can't lose us. We have to stand up and be who God has called us to be, and to do so in love. You join to do so in love and support, that I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to stand for you, because none of us came to Christ because we were perfect. All of us came to Christ because we were broken and we were lost and we were confused and things were falling out of order in our lives. And so the same grace and the same love that God extended to me in my brokenness and my loss and I got to extend that same love and kindness to you. But I can't do so and throw in my core values, And so that is no longer love, because what is love? Love does not exist outside of a choice. If I do not have a choice in the matter, then it is no longer love. Because God himself, he say, listen, yeah, I'm God. I created all of this stuff, and I have the plan, the real plan for your life. You don't know what you're doing, what you have. You don't know. I got the real plan for your life. But, and even though I made the sacrifice of giving my life for you to show you how convinced I am of the plan that I have for your life, if you choose not to serve me, I have to honor that. I have to honor your choice. You know, God don't stop loving them because people are making different choices. And so another thing we have to do in the body is stop pitting one sin against the other. Sin is sin. Small sins, big sins, medium sins, we give it classification. There's sin, and sin separate you from God. It's kind of like a drawbridge. If you ever been by the beach, and you see these drawbridges come up when the boats are getting ready to cross under, the bridge split, pulls up open, and so the boat can pass through and it comes back down. Well, before sin showed up, that bridge was closed so God can come and access us. We can access God. And there was this relationship with God himself, the Father. And so when sin showed up, God was like, oh no, out of my character, I don't touch that kind of stuff. And so that bridge opened up and we no longer had access to God. And so Jesus came and with his sacrifice closed that bridge so that through Christ, we have access to the Father and the Father have access to us. We don't need to go and ask somebody to pray for my sins, to pray for my forgiveness. And I know there are some people that may be watching, they are of Catholic faith and they believe in confession. Scripture talks about that we should confess our sins to one another, but not to ask for forgiveness because men cannot forgive us. No matter what title the man has. No problem. Thank you so much, Judith. Thank you for coming and being part of the conversation, both on Facebook and Clubhouse. Thank you. Hope to see you again next Monday. But no matter who the man is, what title the man has, the human cannot forgive you of their sins. The only forgiveness a human can do is if you did something wrong to them, you did something wrong to me, you ask me for forgiveness, I have the right to forgive you. That I can do. But true and ultimate forgiveness, that's from God, that's not me. And so we have to be mindful of that. And when we talk about the acceptance, because the word acceptance has been shifted in our society, and it says that I need to accept something that is against your core values. But we have not learned how to love in spite, how to respect and honor people in spite. It is a horrible thing for a person calling themselves a Christian to get on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever media outlet and talking down on a homosexual, talking down on anybody from the LGBT community, or being a part of, being physically violent or hateful, or that is not God. That is not love. We are to love. We are to tell the truth, do so in love, but we're not to participate in violence against anyone. How dare us? We didn't create nobody. They're not ours. We all belong to God. All of us, and each and every one of us will stand one day before God, and we have to give an account for what we've done, who we are, and what has happened in our lives. And so we want to be very careful that we don't do these things that are harming and hurtful to others. So if you guys have any questions, I'm so excited that Clubhouse was able to join in the conversation tonight, because last time I did the Clubhouse, and then because I'm new to Clubhouse, I forgot to invite anybody in. So while I was talking to you guys on Facebook, I have my Clubhouse on, and it was just me in the Clubhouse room alone talking because I forgot to invite anyone. So today I invited some people, and Judith was able to come in, and her mother was able to come in, and they were able to be part of the conversation, which is what I really wanted to have this conversation. Because yeah, I talk a lot, anybody who knows me know that I talk a lot, but I want to be engaging, and I want you guys to be part of the conversation. And so make comments, and I don't know. Hey Eddie, is there a way you can say ask to be part of the conversation on Facebook? Because I think I've seen people join in the conversation. Are you able to do that if you're still online? Can you send me a request, just like a test, just so I know if you're still online? Um, or do I press something? No, that's just a comment. Yeah. Oh, okay. Because there was something at one point, because I think people can click your name, or there's something that used to be at the bottom with all those things that you could say be part of the conversation or join the conversation or something like that. Nothing is on there that says that, Eddie. If not, okay, because I do want you guys to kind of be part of the conversation, because I think that makes it more practical and more useful when you're able to share, because I don't hold all the wisdom, and there are some experiences that you guys may have that is going to add so much value to our conversation and be a blessing to someone far more than something that I may have said, because we're here to learn and grow with one another. And so on next Monday, guys, unfortunately, we will not have our Facebook Live, because I will not be I will not be in the country. And so we won't have our Facebook Live then, because I don't know yet. I may be able to hop on and just say hello, and we can talk for a few moments or something like that. But because I'm going to be out of the country, and so attending my sister's wedding out of the country, and so I will not be able to do a full live, but I'll see if I can hop on and at least say hello to you guys, and maybe have a little dialogue. And so if you guys have not, I've put something on Facebook on, let me see. Let's see. Oh no! Oh, I didn't load the video. So for those of you guys who are aware or not aware, on August 4th through the 19th, for 2 weeks, I will be on a missions trip to South Africa, Johannesburg, which I'm super excited of. And I have never been to Africa, have been wanting to forever. And I have forever been wanting to do missionary work. And that's something that I wanted to do when I was younger. It was so big on my heart, and life happens. And, I just kind of forgot about it. And in the last couple of weeks, God resurrected that out of the blue. Because sometimes, your life, at some point, I'm going to share my testimony with you guys of what has been happening in my life the last couple of years. It's been a lot. And God has been so faithful. And so my life and my career and my things had shifted drastically. And so I was just at a place where I was like, God, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. What is the next thing for me to do in my life? And God I'm in school full time trying to complete my doctorate, but I wanted to, because I'm a person who likes to be busy all day long and doing 1,000 million things. And God had kind of put me, go sit somewhere. You're doing too much. Go sit somewhere, because I'm shifting your course of direction. And so I'm so grateful that God has privileged me to be a part of this mission trip with Dr. Bailey, Patricia Bailey. It's so exciting that I'm going to be there. I'm going to be able to provide some counseling. Hi, Maggie. Welcome. I'm going to be able to provide some counseling to some of the women and girls who have gone through gender-based violence, survivors of domestic and sexual trauma. I'm going to be able to, definitely visit visit and minister the orphanages and help with the medical stuff, help with distribution of food, of toys, of educational resources. And I'm reaching out to all my old Mary Kay consultants. If you have some products that you don't need, especially makeup and things like that, please let me know. Please donate, because I wanted to be able to put packages of makeup and things like that to bring over to the women, because we're not just teaching people, giving people a fish. We're teaching them how to, how to fish for themselves, and we're teaching the women some entrepreneurial and business skills. And so we want to bring some products and things that they can begin to use and take to the market and sell, so that they can bring income for their families, for their children. And so I'm so excited about that. And you guys have an opportunity to sow and be a blessing. I don't know how, or I could, let's see, how can I do that? Share the, quickly share that flyer with you guys. Okay, so back to, let's see, share screen. Yep. Chrome, Canva. Okay. Let me see if you're able to see it. Let me take and pull me